christiangeekcentral.com.
Alright, it's a new round, and the living corpse is going to be going first, and for him this turn he's getting move +1, which he doesn't need, and attack -1, which I might really need right now. So he normally has an attack of 3 that's going to be reduced to an attack of 2. Modified against Whisper now is +0, so that's going to be 2 damage that I have no cards in Whisper's hand, so she's just going to have to take that 2 damage. She's going to be doing a long rest this turn. Okay, so that's it for the living corpse. Then we move on to Shaedra, starting with the Mystic Ally, which has a movement of 2, so he's going to start making his way here. 1, 2, and let's see, 1, 2, 3. I think does he have the range? Oh, he doesn't quite. He needs a range of 3 in order to hit him there, so that's not going to be useful to me at the moment. But then Shaedra is going to stomp in and save the day. I don't know why she's stomping, but here she comes. I'm going to give her a movement of 8 with this Riding of the Wind. Oh, that's right. Dang it. I wish that you didn't have to wait in the order to, like, move the elements and stuff. I just, like, when I'm seeing it and I'm executing the move, I just want to do it then. But technically there's some, you know, really rules crunchy reason why I know that would be taking advantage of the system, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I might have to just, for simplicity's sake, change that and risk breaking the game. But for now, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'll stop right there. And then I'm going to use Impaling Eruption, which I definitely can't use to its full potential because there's only one enemy here. But if I can clear out this enemy, then I am basically victorious here. So let's just do it. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't get any... I do get an experience for targeting this enemy, so I got plenty of range. Attack 3. Okay, so let's get that experience out of the way first. Bloop. And then attack of 3 coming at the living corpse. Let's see what happens. +1. I love it. So that's going to be 4 plus the damage from poison, so that's actually going to be 5. That's got to be enough, right? Oh no, because he's an elite. Crap! Alright, so 5 damage on Mr. Living Corpse, who's going to stick around for another round. Alright, so I've completed Whisper's long rest, got her a bunch of cards and some health back, and we're in a new round now, and Shaedra's going first, starting with her Mystic Ally, who gets to move how many again? 2, so let's see here. 1, and then he'll move here 2, so he doesn't get penalized. And then he's got an attack of 3 coming at this punk! Let's see what happens. Modified! Mystic Powers +1! Yeah! So that is 4 damage +5 because of the poison token, which means, boom! Living Corpse is all over the walls. Now, as per my modified rule from the last dungeon that I played, I'm going to allow my guys to continue playing on this board until they are exhausted. Now, the winning conditions for this level are defeating all the bandit commander and all revealed enemies. So, if I were to open up one of these doors and reveal more enemies, then that would basically, for the rules changing that I'm using, that would reset things, and I would then, in order to successfully win this quest, I would have to kill all those enemies that have revealed themselves. But as long as I can play out to the point of exhaustion without revealing any more enemies, then I'm going to call that victory. Alright, so I want to sweep and clear the dungeon, as is only appropriate, for me anyway, as a dungeon crawler. So yeah, let's see here. Alright, so the cards I picked for Shaedra were basically to help me kill off the living corpse. Don't have to do that anymore. I'll just use one of these for its generic movement, start making my way back to sweep up the remaining coins. Same was true in the case of Whisper. I didn't choose any particularly great movement cards for her, so she'll just use her generic movement of 2. 1, 2, and that is the end of the round. Alright, so Whisper is going to heal herself for 3. 1, 2, 3, brings her back up to her max. Then she's going to move 5. Let's see here. Should I make my way all over there? Yeah, I think I will. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll head for that coin back there. And then Shadra is going to do a long rest, and then that'll be the end of that round. Alright, I just did some quick figuring with my cards, and realized that I have enough cards to get Whisper here and Shadra here, so they can both pick up those coins, and then at that point I would just go ahead and exit the dungeon. So let's go ahead and call this victory! Sifting through the carnage left by the battle, you find a cache at the back of the room containing the scrolls you were hired to collect. You can't help but rifle through them a bit, but find that the writing upon them is in some unknown archaic language. One thing that does jump out at you, however, is a map of the northern countryside. A bend in the Still River is clearly marked as a point of interest. Contemplating whether you want to find out more about this so-called gloom, you decide that the spot could be a point of interest for you as well. But that can be forgotten for the moment. You pack up the papers and head back to Gloomhaven to collect your reward. Meeting Jexera once again at the Sleeping Lion, you hand over the papers and are paid the agreed-upon amount. "You know," she whispers to you softly under the bustle of the tavern, "if you're interested, I may have another job for you. A tribe of Inox in the Dagger Forest has ransacked a couple of my caravans headed to the capital. I told the militia, but they do nothing," she spits. "I can point you in the direction of their encampment. If you can make an example of them, I will pay you even more." She places a crude map of the forest on the table and stands up, her jewelry clinking with the movement. "Come find me when it is done." All right, will do. And for my rewards for completing this, I get 10 gold for each of my characters and a prosperity of +1. Good grief. These stickers, my gosh, these stickers, they're really small. Some of them are really small. Just get a sense of the scale here. So here's my thumb, and this is like number 5. This is the size roughly of number 4, okay? And I had to fit it on this part of the board that, like, when you fold it, it's gonna break, and so they had to put the sticker into 2 halves. 2 halves. So like the 1 half was like this teeny tiny microscopic thing, and not only that, but like when you notice that the sticker doesn't just peel off of this, like it peels off and the backing comes with it. So you peel it off and then you gotta hold it in your hand. You're like, where's the edge? There it is. And then you gotta already really delicately put it down on the board. But then when you have to split it in half, and this one wasn't even split in half. It was like just this little like fourth here, right here, was where the split point was. And so, oh my gosh, the precision work. It's like, this is why I don't paint miniatures. I just want to play the game. I don't want to build the game, make the game. It's too much pressure. I don't have the fine dexterity. So next time, special edition with all the stickers, no stickers, and it's all just pre-printed, and I'll be fine without putting the stickers on. I'm making a hissy fit over nothing. It really, it doesn't take that much effort. It's just, pressure. All right, so now I'm going to do, I did a little bit of shopping. I picked up for Whisper this poison dagger, which I think is going to be really cool. During your melee attack, add poison to a single attack. And that will be really handy when I want to inflict poison on somebody, but I don't want to use one of my special abilities that specifically inflicts poison. So that, super handy. And then I didn't make any other kind of like purchases or sales or anything like that. Just kind of kept my guys where they've been. Feeling pretty good, so let's take on a city event. All right, here we go. City event. You are out in the Ward of Scales when you see a crowd of people forming to the south, growing louder and more dense by the second. As you approach, you see through the angry mob a terrified vermling being pulled in your direction by a group of gruff men. "Dirty thief!" a woman next to you screams. "String it up!" Glancing behind you to where the crowd appears to be headed, you see a disused gibbet or gibbet. I gotta look that up. Okay, so it's pronounced gibbet, and it's those things that it refers to like anything used for like public execution, like gallows or something like that. But the pictures that I found, it seems to most commonly refer to those things where like it's almost like a pole and then like another pole coming out from it, and then the victim, the person being punished, hangs from that. Maybe by a cage or something else, so they're just kind of put on public display during or after their execution. So you see one of those that's disused in the market square. The men, clearly not guards, move closer. All right, so option A, let's see here. Option A, attempt to stop the crowd from hanging the vermling. Option B, take no action and see this through to its logical conclusion. Geez Louise, let me think. Okay, I'm kind of metagaming a little bit here. I kind of feel like just being a wallflower isn't going to get me anything. And it probably won't result in anything interesting happening. But if I intervene and change the course of events, I'm more likely to get a reward, or at least have something interesting happen, even if that results in something negative for me. So, I am going to choose to attempt to stop the crowd from hanging the vermling. So getting out my poison dagger, whipping up some magic spells, let's see what happens. What the crap? Oh, cool. Okay, so there's something that specifically happens if I'm playing a certain type of character. So it's got these icons here, and this one here is the icon for my Orchid Spellweaver, Shadra. So I get to read this. It says, you keep a calm demeanor as you try to talk down the mob. It takes some effort, but the men finally agree to turn the thief over to the authorities, which stops the situation from devolving into chaos. Gain 1 prosperity. Oh, that's sweet, dude. Oh, man, awesome. Otherwise, I would lose 1 reputation. So at least something would happen. Oh, crap, but let's see here. In the B scenario, it says you watch as the men move past you toward the gibbet. One carries a thick rope that he ties around the vermling's neck. The other end of the rope is thrown over the crossbeam, and then the men begin pulling, hoisting the helpless thief up off his feet. He struggles in vain, a panicked look in his eyes, but eventually he stops moving. The men tie off the rope, leaving the lifeless thief hanging. People begin to mill about, many stopping to spit on the ground before returning to work. Add city event 60 to the deck. That's really interesting. So, one, I gain prosperity. The other, I gain content for the game. Man, I feel kind of torn. But I'm not going to turn back time. I'll probably go and look and see what that City Event 60 says, though. Okay, so the City Event 60, it's kind of similar. It's another kind of mob type thing that you can choose to break up. And, I was curious. I was like, is this going to, involve anything of the plot of this city event that I just did? Or is it, how much continuity is built into these event cards and stuff like that. So, but really, it's just another similar event, and the outcomes are gain 1 reputation, no effect, gain 5 gold each, and lose 1 prosperity. So, yeah, I'm not missing out on some kind of an entire dungeon or something by not going down this path. And that's the thing that I wanted to be sure of. So, all right, cool. Well, I'm happy with how that turned out. And maybe I've been having mixed feelings about the role-playing aspect. Now, I don't remember if the designer of the game used this phrase. I think I heard it in a review at least, but I thought I read this on the Cephalo Games website at some point. But don't hold me or Cephalo Fair Games to that. But I think it was maybe drive-through reviews during his review or somewhere else described this game as D&D in a box. And as I'm playing it, what I'm kind of feeling about that is that, yes, depending on what your D&D experience is, just like how you can play the PC game Neverwinter Nights, and there's a ton of user-made content, and it's all based on Dungeons and Dragons and in that world. But when you look at how those types of user-made campaigns are categorized, they'll have categories like heavy role play or dungeon crawl, or all kinds of different kind of descriptors, because the experience you can have with Dungeons and Dragons, or any role-playing game for that matter, is so varied. Not just in terms of the specific plots, obviously those are endless, but in terms of what kind of experience you're going to be having. Is it going to be a tactical combat game? You can have a D&D group that really their whole idea of D&D is, no, we don't do any of the role play. We never talk in character. We just move miniatures around, and and we have tactical battles and stuff, and we equip ourselves, and we min-max our characters and all that. And it's, it's a lot of crunching and stats and tactical combat, and that is D&D for them. Whereas other people really de-emphasize combat. They go loosey-goosey with the combat rules, and it's really about the role play and having those cinematic moments, or maybe the less violent moments where it's more about city role play and character interaction and stuff like that. In one sense, it's a bold claim to say this is D&D in a box. In another sense, it's just a claim that requires a little bit more specific wording, or specific descriptors. So far, circling back around, my thoughts on Gloomhaven as D&D in a box. I think for some people's D&D experience, this is absolutely, kind of D&D in a box, different rule set, obviously, without a dungeon master or game master required. But for those who like to do more of the kind of the role-playing stuff, obviously without a game master, you're going to be, losing a lot of that. So, I mean, that's not really my point. But for example, when you're playing D&D, you would roll charisma when you're trying to persuade somebody to do something. You'd roll charisma or some kind of charisma skill or something like that. And yeah, you'd role play it, and yeah, there'd be choices involved, but you also have a stat that says you are really good at persuading people. And so that's going to affect the ability to have a certain type of outcome in this kind of story/role-playing type scenario. And what I was seeing up until now in Gloomhaven was a real lack of that. In these character decks that each character has, it's all really, as far as I can tell, combat related. You don't really get your hand of cards out. Your hand of cards doesn't play any kind of role when you're in the city or on the road that I've seen so far. And in any case, though, like I said, those cards all seem to be geared toward just combat and the rules of combat, So there don't seem to be any stats for your characters that come into play when it comes to role-playing encounters. But this is a little glimmer of something like that, because, it says if you have one of these types of characters in your party, then you are capable of bringing about a certain kind of outcome that you would not be capable of otherwise. So I'm seeing just a little bit of that kind of stat-based character interaction role-playing brought in, but in the form of, instead of like a charisma stat, it's basically a character class that is better at persuading, maybe, and so that maybe is how we'll see some of these role-playing things work out in Gloomhaven. So up to this point, I was a little bit bummed. I was like, yeah, I'm kind of missing that. I'm missing the ability to manipulate people or trick people or whatever. But it seems like in a far less specific and detailed way compared to the combat, there is some element of that's being factored into the game, and I really do appreciate that. So anyway, yeah, so that was a cool encounter, and what did I just get? I gained 1 prosperity. Sweet. All right, I've decided that before doing Jexera's next quest to go and kick the crap out of some people or whatever it was she wanted me to do, I can't remember, I'm going to check this little place of interest marked on the map and go to the quest Crypt of the Damned and see how that works out. But first, I need to do a road event on the way there. So let's see what happens here. You are far off the main road when you see a small band of Inox approaching from the west. You try to divert your path to go around them, but they are moving directly into your path. In a few minutes' time, they overtake you. "You've wandered into our territory, travelers," the biggest one says. "We don't much like visitors." You stare at her blankly. Oh, that was a her. Wow. Quite dainty and attractive. Let's see here. "Such acts can be forgiven, but it will cost you." All right. What do the Inox look like? I'm trying to remember here. All right, so this is one of the Inox, and this actually happens to be a female Inox, so maybe that kind of helps our picture a little bit. Sorry about my shaky hands there. Yeah, she doesn't look like anybody that wants to be messed with, but I might have to mess with her. My choices are, option A, try to reason with the Inox. I don't know, let's look at that picture again. Now, I don't want to judge a book by its cover, but I'm not thinking she's going to be reasoned with very easily. So that's option A. Option B, fight off the Inox. They'll get no payments from you. And, I didn't mention this before, but, on your party sheet, you're supposed to come up with a party name, and I named my party The Twisted Sisters. And so I'm kind of thinking of playing them as not necessarily out and out evil, but certainly, they are mercenaries and they are just in it for the almighty coin, and they have got their own agenda, and no one is going to screw with them. So, yeah, I think I'm going to fight off the Inox. I wonder if is that going to result in some kind of combat encounter I have to do? Let's see here. You raise your weapons and state that no payments will be made this day. The group of Inox snarls and attacks. After you land a few solid blows, though, they break off and run away back to the west, leaving you to tend to your wounds. Oh, that sucks! Start scenario with 3 damage. Alright, well, best case scenario, if I would have tried to reason with them, would either be no effect or lose 5 gold each, and you know what? I'd rather start with the 3 damage. Gold is a little bit more precious to me than health, I think. We'll see. So, alright, very cool.